Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and a very good ni hao to our Chinese friends, especially Happy New Year of the Rabbit to them. Your Excellency, my dear friend and colleague, Senator Syed Faisal Sabulzbari Sahib, Minister for Maritime Affairs, the Honorable Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Muhammad Amjad Khan Niazi, Admiral Saids, of course, the one and only Dr. Huma Bakai, who is a certified intellectual and scholar. And I will start by first extending my heartfelt condolences to our distinguished guest from Turkey, on this devastating earthquake and the tragedy. And as you can see, this earthquake in Turkey and Syria have mobilized the entire Pakistan nation in supporting, in sympathizing and providing solidarity with our brethren who have suffered. Because when we suffered in 2005, your great leader, President Rajab Tayyip Erdogan, was the first to reach Pakistan and support Pakistan. So our hearts go out to you. I would also like to compliment the Pakistan Navy for taking this very important and timely initiative. Aman 2023 is the 10th in the series of these initiatives with the theme Together for Peace. And the Pakistan Navy has been playing a very important role in a world that is being transformed in a period of turbulence and turmoil. And we are very proud of the fact that in 2019, the Combined Task Force 150 was led by the Pakistan Navy. And recently, ladies and gentlemen, you represent 50 different countries. You'll be pleased to know that in the most important global event in the field of sports, soccer, football, it was Pakistan Navy which was also providing security on the shores of the sea, while the players were peacefully playing football. So the Navy has demonstrated that professionalism. And 21st century is an era in which the Indian Ocean region is the center of gravity in terms of geopolitics and geo-economics. And Pakistan's location, Pakistan's role in this heart of the Indian Ocean region provides for a bridge between the East and the West. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go into the subject of the Indian Ocean region, I'd just like to briefly give you the brief geopolitical context which shapes our regional environment. And I'll refer to certain statements made by world leaders. President Biden says that this decade of the 20s is going to be the decisive decade. President Putin said this decade of the 20s is the most dangerous decade. President Xi Jinping said at the 20th Party Congress of the Communist Party of China in Beijing in October that we are witnessing once-in-a-century changes. And the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, has said in an article published recently in the Foreign Affairs, January-February of Foreign Affairs, he says, we are witnessing an epochal tectonic shift in the global balance of power. And I think the most important statement was made in 2022 by President Macron of France. And he said, we are witnessing the end of 300 years of global Western hegemony. So this is where the world is, an inexorable shift from the West to the East in terms of the balance of economic, cultural, and political power, which one of the founding fathers of Pakistan, the great poet of the East, Dr. Allama Iqbal, had predicted 90 years ago. when he had said in his poetry, "Dekh, mashrik se ubarte hue suraj ko dekh." See the sun rising in the east, and we are seeing the rise of the Asian century. When we talk of the Indian Ocean region as the center piece of geopolitics and geoeconomics, the core of that is the relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China is the first non-Western power in recent history to emerge as a major competitor of Western domination in the field of economy and strategy. And I was recently reading a very interesting study made by Harvard University. And Huma, you must have it distributed. The study was done in November by Professor Graham Allison. It's a 52-page study you can find in the Google. It's called The Great Tech Rivalry, China versus the United States. 52 pages. And it says, and this is the core of the issue, China is overtaking the United States in high-tech manufacturing and science and technology. And they mention China produced last year 1.5 billion cell phones, 250 million computers, 25 million automobiles. But more than that, they talk of China either catching up or China either reaching that level, whether it's artificial intelligence, robotics, 5G, cloud computing, the foundational aspects of the 21st century science and technology, including STEM, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where China and the United States are almost at par. So we see three major global trends in this region, the broader Indian Ocean region, which are going to shape the regional environment and the geopolitics in the 21st century. The first is an architecture of a new Cold War is already in place. And you can see it from the Indian Ocean region going into the Pacific region, what the West calls Indo-Pacific. Actually, it's Asia-Pacific. But they have, since 2018, the new term is, according to them, Indo-Pacific. And there we have seen the emergence of Quad, whether it's Australia or Japan, India, and the US. Then we have AUKUS, Australia, UK, US also. Then we also have strategic agreements between the US and India. We had in 2016 the LEMOA, Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Association. 2018 we had COMCASA, which is about communications. And then we had in 2020 BECA, B-E-C-A, Basic Exchange Cooperation Agreement. So put together, that places India as a very solid part of the anti-China alliance being cobbled together by the United States. And that is a very important element. And for the first time, NATO summit in Madrid invited 4 Asian countries, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Japan. And the NATO Military Committee chairman also visited Japan and other Asian countries. So you can already, there's talk of an Asian NATO, and there's already talk of confronting, and this started in the days of President Obama, when he mentioned about the pivot to Asia in November 2011. And recently, 3 days ago, those who were listening to the speech of President Biden, he said that the competition against China will unite all of the United States. So this is a new reality in global politics, and there are 2 pathways. China has already announced the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, by President Xi Jinping, of which CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, is the flagship and the centerpiece. And a big success story. I was recently in Thar and Port Qasim, and you can see how it has generated. The BRI has generated 300,000 jobs, and it has transformed lives and countries from the Solomon Islands to Kenya, to Africa, to Panama. from Pakistan to Panama, you can feel the impact of that. 146 countries are on board. So that is one major trend. The second major one is also extremely important, and that pertains to the struggle in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine has shaken up. And of course, after the Russian invasion there have been a certain division, but that has also given strategic space. The division in the world today, till recently it was between Islam and the West, Muslim world facing the Western countries. Now it is a different kind, North, South. The global North being West, and the global South being mostly the developing countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And you can see the positions that have been taken by the global South are somewhat markedly different than the positions taken by the global North on this issue of Ukraine. And one expression of that was the recent landmark visit of President Xi Jinping to Saudi Arabia. And it was quite historic, his reception and the way he was received. And recently, for the first time, there was a high-level American warning given to two countries in the region, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Turkey, about their trade and about their economic relationship with Russia. So I think this is an important element also that will say, for the first time in 25 years, Pakistan, India, and China have taken a similar position on a global issue because we all three of us abstained on the Ukraine vote in the United Nations. The third major development, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely important for our region. We are seeing, because of the strategic space, especially after the vacation of Afghanistan by the US military, the rise of what I call Muslim middle powers like Pakistan, like Saudi Arabia, like Turkey, like Iran and others. And that is showing itself in foreign diplomatic relations, economic foreign policy and other areas. And it is in this context that Pakistan also, I think, needs to reassess its global strategic vision and also, in my view, do some strategic course correction. And which is the most important strategic course correction for us? The most important is that we in Pakistan have had a sort of sea blindness, that we have always viewed the plains of Punjab or the north as being the center of gravity in terms of strategy. That is no longer the case. The future is about the Indian Ocean region. The sea blindness has to end, and Pakistan Navy has to be playing a leadership role in not just protecting our sea lanes, but proactively promoting what they're doing now. Maritime diplomacy, maritime security, maritime economy. And we are very fortunate that a few years ago, in 2015, Pakistan's continental shelf, our seabed, was expanded by 50,000 square kilometers. And that is a huge potential for exploration, for taking it forward. And maritime economy is going to be shaping up this whole region in a big way. The World Bank had a study done, and they said the maritime economy, the blue economy of Pakistan, has the potential of $100 billion. And that, together with our mineral resources, which we have in different parts of Pakistan, buried deep under, along with our natural gas reserves, comes to a total of $1 trillion. And in that regard, I've just come from Islamabad, we talk of IMF, we can bid goodbye to IMF. We don't need to be dependent on IMF or this culture of IMF and loans and subsidies, and move forward. For this, I would like to also propose a couple of things through the courtesy of the Honorable Minister, Syed Faisal Ali Sabzwari, who I know is a very effective man. He's a doer. And he used to be a doer in Karachi, but I hope he'll be a doer in Islamabad also. And Shah Sahab, you should take the initiative. Number one, establish a national seabed authority to focus on this new continental shelf, the expansion that we have seen. That's number one. Number two, the Ministry of Maritime Affairs should have a permanent secretary who is from the Navy. an admiral, maybe a commodore also, brilliant commodore, Admiral Niazi can nominate some of his good dynamic officers. When we have Ministry of Defense headed by a general, we have Ministry of Defense Production headed by a lieutenant general. Why? This is extremely important. Navy is a bit of the Muslim service, but they have to play a role now because this is, our future is maritime. And in this regard, if you have a naval officer running your ministry, rather than any other bureaucrat, I think this will make a qualitative difference. And that would be the game changer in our strategy to build Pakistan in the 21st century, because economic independence is the material basis for political independence. And the key to economic independence is not IMF in Washington, DC, or going other places. You have CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. You have TAPI, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline. You have regional connectivity, and you have huge offshore resources, the blue economy, as well as the mineral resources. So the way forward to build Pakistan, to strengthen Pakistan in the 21st century, I think is very clear, but certain decisions have to be taken. For a long time, we have avoided taking those decisions. But I would say, military style, Shah Saab, tuck, tuck, tuck. Have the National Seabed Authority, number one. Number two, have a secretary in your organization who is from the Navy, and formulate a strategy like CPEC, which has a consensus of all the political forces and all the stakeholders, a strategy to build Pakistan's blue economy by exploration and exploitation of the natural resources which the World Bank says are worth $100 billion. There's no reason that we cannot prove ourselves equal to the task. I thank the Pakistan Navy once again for this timely initiative, and I wish them good luck, and I wish the foreign participants a very good stay. Pakistanis are a very warm and welcoming people, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the hospitality of the Pakistan Navy and the people of Pakistan. Thank you so much.